about that. Will it be MJF or Orange Cassidy walking away with the Dynamite Diamond Ring?
Woo!
Woo-woo!
I'm hoping for MJF, baby.
I think it has to be. He won last year. It only makes sense to give him 2, right? Because then
I think so.
He hasn't really had a championship, so. Moving on. Maureen Tracy, who's not as interesting as Sting, who had been working for NWA as the director of operations, finished up with the company Tuesday. There's no word why Tracy has left the NWA, but she told one person on Twitter she is jobless now. Tracy previously worked for High Spots before signing with the NWA in December of 2018. Her departure is seen as a significant loss to the NWA, which has been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic this year.
Yeah, I've never heard of the gal, but I know after this happened, there were a ton of NWA wrestlers that went on Twitter to express that they're going to miss her and how great she was. So it'll be interesting to see if something comes up about what happened here.
Kind of weird that she's leaving as they launched their new show this week.
Right. Yeah, it's
unless they're doing some serious, significant changes all the way around.
Well, Paystee, we've had some significant changes in and out of the ring, and they hurt. Yeah. And that brings us into our injury report. And Paystee, we're going to start this one off with a flashback to Matt Hardy in AEW because this week Jeff Hardy took a scary bump during the Symphony of Destruction match on Raw after diving from the top turnbuckle to the outside with a swanton bomb, putting Elias through a table to pick up the pinfall victory. Well, the table was placed in a corner at ringside. It was very crowded, and it seemed like only Hardy's legs made contact with Elias on the table, while the back of his neck and skull brushed against the edge of the steps. Scary, scary stuff. According to Dave Meltzer, he initially heard there was an expectation that Hardy suffered a concussion, but he was not diagnosed with one. However, it's still possible Hardy did suffer a concussion since many athletes don't show symptoms immediately after such scary bumps. And that's a scary one. Go look it up on YouTube or online, folks, if you haven't seen it yet, because it's
he
like
was definitely
cringy.
Trying to one-up Matt. That's definitely Vince is like, look what your brother did. He was the talk of the town for 3 weeks.
Right.
Oh, man, boss, didn't I do enough for you when I took that spot off the top of the Hell in a Cell with Randy Orton? No!
No!
Now get out there before I call Naya.
I want your head to make contact with the stairs. And make it look good. I want you to really hit it. I want it to sound like the gong and people think Undertaker's coming back.
You know, and that's really how you know WWE is just at this low point. Symphony of Destruction match. And that's not the first one we've had. I think they just did this between, like, Braun Strowman and somebody last year.
Oh, did they really? I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, that was a Braun Strowman-initiated match.
I read it, and I was just like, that's silly. That's silly.
It's silly that they're still playing on the who ran over Elias storyline that was fucking stupid in the first place.
Are they?
Yeah, this is what it's...
I didn't know somebody ran over Elias.
Well, yeah, that's when Jeff Hardy was drunk driving on the show or whatever, and they were using his life.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, yep, this is still that story.
I tried to block that out of my memory.
This is the long-term booking Triple H was talking about this week.
They're going to end in a match where he hits him with a cello. All I know is I've seen a picture of Jeff Hardy with a cello. That's all I know about it. And then I seen the clip. Although I like a cello.
Yeah. Jeff needs to get the fuck out of WWE. I don't think he's going to, though. I think that's where he's going to
I think Jeff needs to just retire in general.
I think
his body's got to be worse than Sting's.
Right.
between
Speaking
all the
of Jeff
bumps...
and Sting, fuck. Talk about that match again.
Yeah.
Can we have a rematch of that in AEW?
Woo. besides all the bumps that Jeff took, all the drugs really wear on you also, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You look at all these wrestlers who died early, and a lot of them weren't using drugs for years, but it's like your body still, it still hurt your body. It still did wear and tear on your body.
And am I the only one who finds irony in the fact that they're having Jeff Hardy, a real musician, in a storyline with Elias, a fake musician? It's
maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's how this silly symphony came about. Jeff's like, I'm a real musician. You're just a working musician. I don't know why I turned him into Michael Hayes for a second.
I have no idea.
Because Michael Hayes brought Jeff Hardy in. This is how Jeff talks backstage. He just puts on an accent for them northern folkers.
Yes, and then in case you didn't remember, Elias also recently released his second album, which you can listen on any streaming service. I haven't listened to it yet because the first one was really shitty. Hopefully
you can also feel free to.
Musician.
You can feel free to not listen to the album also on any streaming service.
Just go listen to Macho Man's Be a Man album. That's
listen to Pile Driver. Boy, if those things aren't cringy enough, Paystee, this next guy.
Yes, the transition you tried to bring into play over 2 minutes ago. Marty Jannetty posted the following update on his Facebook page, noting that he has recently had reconstructive ankle surgery last week. His ankles now got double Ds. Jannetty said he's doing well after the procedure. He also noted he's using a wheelchair and a cane to get around until he's healed up. God, that's got to be hard dragging yourself around the house in a wheelchair with a cane.
That's
to drag
rough.
Yourself across. Don't you know you can use the wheels are made big so your hands can roll them, Marty?
I think he hooks the cane on something and pulls himself forward. You know
it's getting over it with Bennett Foddy. I don't know if you got kids. You may have seen that.
I've never heard of that.
It's a game where you're a guy and he's in a cauldron and he's got a hammer and it's like a really shitty physics game.
Oh, I do know exactly what you're talking about.
Himself. Yeah.
Yep. That's awful. You know what the saddest part of this whole thing is that it's Marty Jannetty, so I don't even know if I believe he's hurt. I don't even know if I believe he had surgery. The man says so many things and then takes them all back. Talks about dating the girl who he thinks is his daughter, talking about murdering a guy, and when he show up, he's like, wow,
I killed him.
I didn't really kill him. I was just
writing some fan fiction about myself.
Yeah.
Who writes self-fan fiction?
Dude, you're not in an angle. You don't even wrestle anymore. It's not a real thing.
Angle? No, reconstructive surgery on my ankle.
Yeah. Oh, this guy. For all we know, he never had it. He's just using it as an excuse to take scripts. This guy.
Oh, boy.
Well, Paystee, you know what? I heard that while he was in the hospital getting surgery, he was just down the hall from our good friend Dwayne Gill.
Oh, legend.
Dwayne Gill does belong in the Hall of Fame. I don't care what people say.
He really does.
But Dwayne Gill has been released from the ICU after suffering a heart attack. He is expected to go back home soon and to start transitioning into a woman. I mean, back to normal. Gill, Marty and him had been talking. Gill had multiple stints working as a WWE talent, with his first run coming between 91 and 94, where he served as the role of a jobber. In 1998, he was brought back at Survivor Series to face Mankind in the first round of a tournament to crown the new WWE champion. And then, I think what most people remember him for the most, in the wake of Goldberg's popularity, WWE repackaged Dwayne Gill as Gilbert, a parody version of the WCW megastar who never won a match. Although, he did end up getting a winning streak of sorts, because during that time, Gilbert defeated Christian to capture the WWE Light Heavyweight Championship. James Ellsworth has created a GoFundMe page. Him and James are really good friends in real life. And got a GoFundMe page for the former Light Heavyweight Champion. The page was created to help pay for medical and living expenses. As of this recording, $1,029 has been raised of a $30,000 goal. So if you want to contribute to Gilbert getting back on his feet, go ahead and hit up GoFundMe and look up Dwayne Gill.
Man, I know James Ellsworth and Gilbert already had their little getting together thing in the indies since James left WWE, but I really want to see them lampoon the Sting thing from AEW this week. Where Ellsworth and a bunch of jobbers are in the ring and Gilbert comes down. Oh, that'd be fun.
That would be fun.
I'm glad to see James Ellsworth is still doing shit in wrestling and for wrestlers. That makes me happy. He fucked up, but he didn't fuck up as much as a lot of people do.
That's true. That is true, and he's still out there living his life.
Yep. Yeah, I thought for sure we'd never hear of him again. Good on you, Ellsworth.
We still see old Enzo, so come on. If you can see him, you can see anybody, I guess.
God, they'd be a good tag team. I'm still wondering who's going to pick Enzo up. He plays around with so many different wrestling companies. You got to assume he's going to get signed soon.
Yeah, I don't know.
I miss him. He was good. He was fun to watch. Shitty wrestler. Didn't know shit about his history. But I'm sure he's learned some in the years since we've actually seen him. So
you would hope so.
Yes. Ronnie Massaro, the 39-year-old brother of the late Ashley Massaro, was fatally stabbed outside of a pizza shop in New York City on Saturday. It was noted that Ronnie was struggling to turn his life around like a pizza cutter and had been battling alcoholism following Ashley's suicide on May 16, 2019. Ronnie had checked out of a rehab facility in Riverhead, Long Island, just hours before he was murdered. It's Pizzagate.
I want to know where Marty Jannetty was November 21st.
Yeah. Probably writing another fan fiction about himself.
He rolled his fucking ankle running away from the pizza joint. In all seriousness, I feel bad for the Massaro family. This has been a rough few years for them. God, you would hope it can't get much worse. So,
right. Well, how many are left?
yeah, right? I don't know. Yeah, how many are left? It's a dwindling number, that's for sure.
I have this feeling it's tied to that rehab facility, though. He must have did or said something wrong.
It would, it's very suspicious, yeah. It's very suspicious hours after you're out of work.
Most users will turn themselves into rehab when they're in debt to their dealer.
Right?
That makes sense. There's your story. We finished it out for you.
We got it.
That's real fan fiction, Jannetty.
You could learn a thing or two. Well, Paystee, there's somebody that all of us learned a thing or two from. Anybody who's watched wrestling in the past, 60 years, has at least been touched by this person in some form or the other.
Hopefully he doesn't have to file a report about it, though.
Hopefully not, because, the fact is, Pat Patterson has passed away at the age of 79 after a lengthy battle with cancer. A true trailblazer of the industry, folks. Patterson was linked to many firsts in sports entertainment throughout his storied career, including the first ever Intercontinental title reign and the creation of the most fan-loved event in WWE history, the Royal Rumble match. In a career spanning 6 decades, this Renaissance man left a mark on the industry, in the ring, on the microphone, and behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, let's do a Royal Rumble. It's like a Battle Royal, except everybody has to walk down.
He sold it as a reverse Battle Royal. Instead of you starting with, 30 people and then it comes down to 2, you start with 2 and then people start coming in as they go. So, yeah.
There's a better way to do a reverse Royal Rumble, and it's been done. Where they're outside the ring, you gotta throw them in. Patterson began his career in 1958 in his native Canada before becoming a fixture in the Bay Area for nearly 2 decades. After winning the AWA Tag Team Championship with Ray Stevens in 1978, one of Beast's